Hello, 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 hello. A quick update because it is raining and I want to get back in the warm and the dry. So, if you are watching this, it should be, I think, the 24th of January. I'm speaking to you from the past, which means if you are up to date with my content, if you're not, what's the matter with you? That on the 9th of January, I did indeed sign the promis de vente for a property. The search is over. A number of things. So, the vendor has signed the promis de vente, meaning they cannot pull out. The only person now, and the clock is running, who can stop this sale from happening is me. I'm not going to do that. So to all intents and purposes, I've bought a house in France. I'll put a link up to the video regarding it. Couldn't be happier, absolutely love it. Without my selfie stick today, so it's a little difficult to record this. So if today is the 24th of January, there are some reasons that I shan't go into, but that I respect, that mean the vendor is asking for the maximum duration for the transfer of the house. So we have agreed the house will be mine no later than the 15th of April, which means 81 days to go. Not that I've already started counting or anything. So that's where we are. So hopefully 81 days or sooner, I should be moving into the property. As previously shown, 3 bedrooms, shower room, lovely 18th century property, 1.2 hectares of land. And the one question I get asked more than any other on this channel is, oh Betsy, why do you want so much land? So let's dedicate the remainder of this video to trying to answer that question. Okay, let's see if this makes any sense. So this is the cadastral. I'm supplied by the agent, by the notaire, etc. Ignore the purple circle, and the yellow boxes are houses. So that's my house just on top of the circle, and you can see there I've got 2 neighbours bordering the property, one of which is right up against the boundary line. Now, if this was on a property of 5,000 metres, that house would be a lot closer to mine than it is on a plot of 1.2 hectare. Property number 1 is the building the agent identified as being a holiday home. So that will only be occupied certain periods of the year at present. Houses are bought and sold all the time. Property number 2 is a family that resides there all the time. The other detail I've added there is the area in yellow. All of that is currently farmland, currently being used for arable farming. And that will come with noise, tractors. There's a thing in France called the maize run, when all the arable fields are very busy. So I've just rotated the plot a little there, just for convenience sake, and just started to add some detail. So the grey line, we're going to say that's the drive to the house. And what I've started doing is adding the area of the boundary. So currently there are trees and hedging around the property. If we look the top right hand corner, that's the area that is currently the coppice, and I will want to improve on that to help provide me with self-sufficiency in firewood. And one of the things I plan to do is actually to plant more trees with the purpose of using them as a harvestable fuel resource. And what I'd also like to do is plant further trees around my boundary, both for privacy and also as a food resource. I would love more fruit trees on site than there currently are. So I'm just adding a little more detail here. So really the majority of that top right hand corner is going to be utilized for firewood. The little blue square, that's the workshop. And then the, I don't know, dozen or so circles on, let's call it 4 o'clock on the clock. That's currently where the orchard is at present. They're existing fruit trees. You can see already on the right hand side of the plot, east of the drive, there's already very little space for other elements. So something else I'm going to add, the little grey square there at 12 o'clock on the clock face. I want a polytunnel in sight. I do know, obviously, that in a rural location like this, my number one enemy is going to be the muntjac and the roe deer and rabbits. Okay, so I've just overlaid that ellipse around the house and added a little further detail. So some of the things I would like. I plan to have a fire pit. I'd like a barbecue area. And then just at 6 o'clock inside that circle, that's the old bread oven. That's going to be a project. I'm going to look to restore that. Wouldn't it be fantastic in future at some point to provide some of my neighbours with bread from that oven again? Adding further detail, so the light green, let's say I'm going to have an area for soft fruit, berries. And then below that, I would like an area for vegetables, raised veg beds and things like that. And then I've also put in just outside the bottom left of the circle, an area there. Let's say we're going to have some compost. Obviously, this is all in theory at the moment, but just add in another little area there. So 9 o'clock on the clock face. One of the things I would also love to do is have some beehives on the property. One of the things my grandfather did was keep bees, and I'd love to emulate him there. And then just below that, if you're going to keep bees, let's have an area dedicated to wildflowers. Bottom right hand corner, I'm going to designate that as a rewilding area. One of the best ways you can do that, again, would be the planting of more trees, but also having a water feature. And I would love a wild pond on site. Doesn't really stand out there, but I've added a very light grey square. Obviously, none of this is really to scale, but you know, something else I would really like? I'd like my own petanque court. What I haven't done here is add anything for poultry. And one of the reasons for that is I want to investigate further the idea of, let's call it a chicken tractor. So it would be movable and helping supply constant food from poultry livestock and also keeping grass and weeds down. So as you can see from my very amateurish efforts with Microsoft Paint, 1.2 hectares. Do you know what? It really isn't that difficult to think what you would do with that parcel of land. So I hope that answers the question, why do you want so much more land? We've got lots of things going on there, haven't we? There's privacy, there's self-sufficiency, food and vegetables. We've got leisure areas. I honestly don't think 1.2 hectares is overkill, especially as a retired person whose primary role is going to be nurturing this land. Right, I've got to get in. It's miserable. Thanks for watching. Feel free to like, subscribe. We've hit 900 subscribers. I'd love to make it 1,000. That would be a real milestone. Thanks for watching. Feel free to like, subscribe, share. If you'd like to, you can buy me a baguette. That would really support the channel as well. But more than anything else, your comments. We love your comments. Have a great week, and I'll see you next time.